Right, so hello and welcome to the Law of Faith. It's quite amazing,
Cheers.
Cheers. I don't have one with me tonight, but cheers, enjoy it. These laws have really just unfolded in such a unique and magical way that it's been quite a beautiful story to just watch how they unfold, especially in alignment with what's going on for all of us in the world at the moment. So the law of faith is it's probably one of the laws that most people get most frustrated with, I think, because this idea of faith, faith in what, and faith, how do you do faith? And that in itself is an interesting question. Can you do faith? What are we even talking about, and how does it work, and all those sorts of good things. So we're going to be playing around a little bit, and we'll be working with Archangel Faith, who is Archangel Michael's twin flame. So she's often called Lady Faith, that we'll be connecting in with tonight, and she'll be doing the meditation for us. So if you'd like to start off tonight, just kind of in the chat box, if you're joining us, just kind of give us a sense of how you're doing. So say hi and give us your mood. What's the mood that you're in tonight? Just give us all, just give a chance to give you a way to connect in. All right, as you do that, I'm just going to set this up for us. Yeah, get all settled there. I think Heather did join us. Are you here, Heather? Yes, there you are. All right, so take a minute and let everybody just say hi. Margot is scattered, not shattered, scattered. Okay, maybe it feels the same thing, Margot. Scattered all over the place. I haven't seen you for ages as well. It's nice to connect with you. Let's see, exhausted, says Leanne. Ready to go, says Mandy. Straight after Leanne's exhausted. Processing, says Sandy. I understand, my darling. I understand. Exhausted, says Linda. Well, you traveled down to Pietermaritzburg today. I hope the trip was uneventful. I'm interested and interesting, Cheryl. I love it. My partner often says interesting things like that as well. Anxious, says Angela. Okay, you're allowed to be anxious. I'm stealing scattered, thanks to Margot. You're allowed to steal it, you can use it. All right, so we're quite a smallish group. We can spend some time having some chats as we go through tonight. So if there's anything that comes up for you, feel free to just bring it up, or put your, send the question in the chat box, or just put it on your microphone and say, can I talk? Can I ask? Can I say something? And you're always, always, always welcome to. Grounded and content, says Nadine. Nadine's in a really good place at the moment. She's lovely, yeah. Okay, so it's actually quite an interesting day, 22 July 2020. So 2020 is a master year, given the 22 number and the 4 number. And we've got today being a master day. It's got a lot of energetic frequency around it today. So following new moon, which I think was 2 nights ago, and it's been an interesting new moon. It's kind of made all the energy quite fluid. I don't know if that makes sense the way I describe it, but everything just feels like it's almost in between and in limbo at the moment, and we're kind of processing. Mary Magdalene comes forward as well, which is interesting because she's aligned with one of the crystals that I spoke about for tonight. So we'll definitely talk about that. It's also the opening of the Lion's Gate portal. So some of you will follow Tim Wilde, and you'll know that he would talk about it. And the Lion's Gate portal is where there's an alignment with some of the planets, and essentially it brings forward downloads from Sirius, which goes through the sun. So it's a time of light activation that we've got for the next 3 to 4 weeks. So really interesting. And when I talk about the symbology of this card just now, you'll see how it all kind of lines up today. It's quite amazing to me. I said these days way in advance, and how they all just line up in the way they're supposed to be. So a really, really, really magical night, but a night or energy at the moment, tonight's energy is one of, I think if I had to put it into words, facing up. So facing what needs to be faced and truly confronting things. And the law of faith is often one of a confrontational kind of energy. The law of faith has got nothing to do with avoiding. It's got to do with confronting, and we have to notice what's going on. Otherwise, we end up into some dangerous energy. So starting to really know, what do I need to face up to? What do I need to bring into awareness? What does faith really mean around that? And we'll talk about that a little bit more. So, as always, you can just connect in. We didn't do this the last time on the law of vibration, but tonight's a useful one to do, is just see which other cards speak to you tonight, which other dragonflies come forward for you and connect you to the law of faith. So just at least pick one other one and just notice what that is. And just share, and so you can start to see which ones grab your attention. And it could be one that we've covered. Decree. Linda, it keeps coming up for you, doesn't it, this decree thing, eh? I think next week's law of one and the following week's law of decree, if I remember correctly. So Margot's law of one, which is next week. Law of frequency. So there's a huge alignment between frequency and faith. Flow, says Heather. Yeah. Angela.
No, you were saying that to be clear about the intention. So I finally managed to write this email to the ethics committee to know I'm allowed or not to do. And it's because if there are people, if you declare it, is fine. Yes. I discover. So I'm just gonna have to declare it. So as opposed to be living on the limbo on whether or not I can do it.
That's a big step, hey? The big step.
Yeah. I mean, they might say no, but then I know where I stand.
Okay. So this whole energy of facing up is like, well, at least if we know that, then we know what we can do. And hold on to that, because it's a very, very useful energetic alignment with what's going on tonight. It's very, very cool. Is that what you're anxious about, Angela?
Yeah, I mean, I finished to write an email just before this, and I said, I need to write this email. And I just kind of told the story, I started this way, now there's more people, can I do it, can I charge, or, can I charge for it? I'm allowed to, what is the procedure? Do I need to ask permission? What is the procedure? Okay. And I discover people have company, so I don't see why not. And if they say, I mean, what the meditation is only in line with the UN work, but you need to declare it. Yeah. And so we will see. But at least I wrote the email, so it's no more hiding.
Yeah, and that's, the law of faith. That's the thing that we need to do, is like, so many people want to pray for things, but they don't want to face things. And the sort of confronting what needs to be confronted head on is part of the energy with the law of faith. Detachment, says Cheryl, and you'll see how that plays out a little bit more. Gratitude, says Leanne. I think that's the last one we do. So grace is really probably the law that aligns the closest. The law of grace, remember we did law of grace, law of vibration, and law of faith now. And these three kind of like a sandwich together. Grace and faith are often used as interchangeable energies, and we'll talk more about that. Abundance and oneness, grace. You're allowed to have gin in your drink. I don't know why I don't have a gin in my hand, really. I don't know, other than the fact that I'm channeling. I'm going to try not channel and drink at the same time. Okay, and law of clarity, which is what you're talking about, Angela. Okay, so let's have a look at this card, which is the law of faith. And I want you to take a minute, and I'll be quiet for a minute or so. I just want you to see what jumps out at you from this in this card, and what's the imagery that connects to you. What's the message you get? You might get some words that you write down. Just take a minute and have a look at the law of faith and see what it presents to you. Right, so I'll get 2 or 3 of you to come and just share what's standing out for you. If you'd like to do that, then you're welcome. Otherwise, you can write it as Nadine is with in the chat box, possibilities, space within the whole. Anybody want to talk through what you're connecting with and what it's showing you as you connect with this card? I think this is one of the first ones I drew, interestingly enough. Cheryl reaching for the stars. Oh, I like that. Symmetry. The womb, eye of a cat. Night sky, the void of nothingness. Beautiful. Cool. Yeah. Anybody want to talk to it? More than that, Linda says, love that, Cheryl. So we'll start to see a number of things in here. Joy and connection to the unseen ones. Oh, wow, Mandy, isn't that beautiful? Oh, that's gorgeous. I love how people get different connections and messages from this. So we'll start to see a lot of what we'll talk about as the portal. So you'll see here, obviously we have the circle. What's this? Oh, that I should receive it. Okay, beautiful. Above and below. So we'll see the circle here. We'll see what this is called as the vesica piscis. I'll talk more about the vesica piscis or the vesica piscis a little bit more, but that's what this very feminine symbol is here. And there's this reaching towards the Merkaba. The Merkaba is all about ascension, all about love, all about mind, body, and spirit activation and integration and wholeness. And there's a sort of sense of aiming for that, holding it, looking for it. Yeah, exactly, like entering the void and reaching for the Merkaba. One of the things that stands out for me with this dragonfly is really the sense of the hands going out, the sort of sense of reaching, the sort of sense of connecting in with something and allowing that which is there to rest. And obviously then we've also got all these colorful things. So there's a very sort of kaleidoscopy kind of feeling that comes up with it. Hold the faith. How beautiful, something majestic will evolve from the stars. And this is invisible. You know, the Merkaba has got a lot of energy around it being the new sort of auric field for those of us that are in the ascension process of moving from this just pure oval sort of auric field to these spinning tetrahedrons that connect in with a traveling kind of energy. And the Merkaba is all about traveling through time and space. So there's the sense of possibility in terms of how we can move from one thing to the next is all there. Right, so if anybody else has anything, feel free to share it there. But as we start to look at the law of faith, the most important aspect of the law of faith is about the impossible becoming possible. And even as I say those words, and we'll talk about it a little bit more now, is the idea of possibility and therefore the idea of impossibility holds things in a certain way of being. I did a reading from the Intergalactic Council a few months ago, and the mantra was, all is possible, nothing is impossible. Just the idea of impossibility holds you trapped. And so starting to notice the relationship between the idea of something being impossible and then wanting to have faith. We can't have faith around something we believe to be impossible. They hold those energies quite separate. And I'll talk a bit more about that as we go through. The other thing is it aligns with the law of miracles. So we're talking all about possibility, miracles, and the magic of the divine. What is divine intervention? How does divine intervention feature in our world? And you know, is it really about those that are lucky enough and those that aren't? You know, is the law of faith something that is quite selective in who it works with and who not? And there is a relationship with vibration, but it's available to everybody. The thing that we're talking about in terms of grace and the law of grace that we've spoken about a few weeks ago, the important thing about the law of faith is if you have expectation, you're not in faith. So if I expect something to be a certain way, so I love the way Angela spoke about it, if I may use her example that she's talking about now. She's not sitting here saying she's attached to what they must be saying and what they must be doing. The faith is, whatever happens, I'll deal with it. There's a sort of detachment from an outcome, but confrontation of reality. And in that, I can allow grace to become present. Something will manifest itself. Something will present itself. But if Angela was sitting here going, the faith is that they will approve it, or that they, you know, it must go through this way, and that's what the faith is about, then we're on the wrong thing. And we need to go all the way back to the law of detachment and really start working with the idea of being attached to something. So this starts to make the law of faith a bit complicated, because what are we putting faith in? What is faith about? And why are we doing that? And so, as I've said, the first part that we want to look at is, how do we make the impossible possible? Trust the process and be at peace, says Nicolette. Yeah? So easy to say, hey? If only we could truly live in that void, in that place of peace, in that place of trusting the process. So this idea of the law of faith being almost the bridge between the mind's idea of impossibility and the heart's desire of miracle. That the miracle is really because it was impossible. There was the idea that it was impossible. It did not think that it was possible that we could be doing this. It did not think this would be possible, whatever it is. And so we need to start noticing, where do we even make up this decision from? Where do you decide what is possible and what is not? What informs that? How do you even begin to make that conclusion, to come to that conclusion? If you just sit in that awareness for a minute and say, like, if I had to sit here and if I had to give you a level or a list of things, and the part of you that goes, well, that's impossible, or that's impossible, and that's impossible, oh, that's possible, that's possible. How do we know? And so Mandy's saying, my heart knows. Your heart knows what's possible. Mandy, is that what you're saying? So I'll wait for your answer there. But a large part of this ordering process, this conclusion reaching, because that's what it is, isn't it? I reach the conclusion that's not possible. If I reach a conclusion of that's not possible, how did you get there? How did you decide? And there's two factors that drive that. I love your answer there. It guides me in some way. That's the idea of something being possible. But the conclusion I reach of impossibility is driven by the past. The only way I can really make a decision about something that it's not possible, just impossible for that to happen, is I will look at the past and I'll look for some form of data or evidence that tells me whether something can or can't happen. Now that's flawed because firstly, the past is simply your memory, so you don't even remember everything. We have this very, very interesting way of forgetting about miracles, about forgetting about the help that we've received or the things that have happened to us that were amazing moments of magic. You know? Results of situations reaffirm constantly on achievement. Exactly. So we start to then just recreate it, don't we? Because we recreate only that which is possible. And so when we use the past as a data point, it's very limited, by the way, because your past is based on previous decisions, past is based on previous frequencies, past is based on all sorts of things. And if your past is your only benchmark of possibility, well, then we might end up living a very limited life. I hate to bring up, the earth being flat at one point because it's flat again for many, which is also okay. There's different scenarios and stories around that. But many people for years and years and years, if not hundreds of years, lived in one version of conclusion about the way the world is. Because it's impossible for it to be anything else. And so understanding that when we break up with this as a data point, possibility and impossibility, we then open ourselves up to miracles. We open ourselves up to magic because we haven't closed down probability. We haven't closed down something. And you'll hear it in people's language. It's impossible. And then somebody will come back and say anything's possible. And these cliches that we throw around, you have to truly check in with your own sense of knowing, which is what Mandy's talking about, is my heart, is, anything can happen. Anything is possible. But we don't like to live in that. We kind of shut it down. Now, if I had to sit here and ask you tonight to list the miracles that have happened in your life, to notice if you can do that. When did something that you thought was impossible become possible? In fact, became probable because it happened. Is to notice what happens for you when I just ask this question. Is I'd like you to sit and scan your life for all the miracles that have happened. And if it's too difficult to do your life, I'm going to ask you to do the last week. What miracles have happened in your life the last week? So anybody willing to share what comes up for you when I ask that question? Miracles have happened in your life. You don't need to share the details of them, just the awareness of what's happening for you when I ask that question. So many exits never taken. Okay, doesn't look like we're going to have a time. Anybody else having any awarenesses? I would hazard a guess that for many of you, and it is so uplifting, I feel a sense of joy and lightness, and that's awesome, Linda. Are we defining miracles as a change in perception? We can. Whatever feels like a miracle to you, Okay, simple one is when appointments are made, someone does not pitch when running late. When we open to possibility and connect with our choices, create, everything becomes a miracle. Absolutely. Oh, wow, Nicolette. That's awesome. I know what a journey that's been for you. Okay. The thing that's coming up, I would imagine, for each of you is you're looking at the things and you can start to see that miracles have constantly been part of your life. There's always been something that you thought was impossible that's been made possible. For most of you, and if anybody's looking at their life and saying there's nothing, that's also okay. You can notice that and notice what that's about for you, and you're more than welcome to share that. Because most of you are thinking of big things. You're thinking of like life and death, or the birth of a child, or somebody getting ill, or something happening, that sort of thing. But we want to get down to tiny moments of possibility where I didn't think it was possible I was going to get a parking space, and all of a sudden there was a parking space. I didn't think it was possible that I was going to find exactly what ingredients I needed for my meal, and suddenly somebody gave them to me. Or I didn't think that I was going to find this, and then I found that. Whatever it is, these tiny, tiny, tiny things that I think would be impossible that aren't, you know. And somebody, I remember the one day I was packing a car to go do a workshop. This was when you could still go and do workshops, and you didn't do it all here. And Eric, my partner, said to me, he said, you know, are you going to manage to carry all this stuff when you get there? I said, somebody will help me. Like, no one will help me. And I arrived in truest form. Some guy walked straight up to my car and said, do you need me to help you take the stuff out your car? And these are the tiny miracle moments that count. These ones are the ones that matter. The big ones are the ones that almost, you know, life is spoken about. But when you can start to capture moments of magic, capture these tiny little things that happen in my day, that starts to feed the law of gratitude, which we'll talk about in the last one. But more important, it means I start to make the impossible possible. I start to believe anything is possible. Getting a beautiful birthday card from my sons. Exactly. There's daily miracles that happen. And these are the ones that we need to validate. And if you want to be somebody who does light work, you want to be part of the miracle experience for people on earth. That's why acting on intuition is such a powerful thing. If I get an intuitive nudge to smile at somebody, it's a possible miracle moment. If I have the intuitive nudge to send a certain message or to do something, to do this, because I become part of the flow of making impossible possible. And you can play this game under the law of abundance. We'll play often abundance games. But I love to talk about faith games. Like, how do we play the game of, you know, of experiencing these connections with magic and all these beautiful things. I was sitting in a meditation yesterday or Saturday morning, I think it was, before lifting the veil. And I kept being shown sunflowers. And I kept being shown sunflowers and the Fibonacci sequence and the sunflowers. And since then, I've had so many sunflower things come across my path. Like somebody sends me a sunflower message, I get a video here, I get this, I get that. Well, capturing these starts to raise your vibration and take you into more magic. And so that takes you into flow. It takes you right smack bang into the space of possibility. Yeah, so beautifully said, Heather, as I refer to these as synchronicity, but synchronicity is the impossible made possible, isn't it? It's the miracle moments, it's the magical moments. Okay, so what's the unexpected grace I've received? What's the unexpected gifts I've received today? Start to become part of this frequency. Now, when we start to talk about the law of faith, we need to talk about some concepts that interfere with it, and some of the concepts that may almost stop us from embracing the law of faith. And there's this idea of blind faith. Blind faith is where I just almost don't look at the facts at all. You know? So blind faith is, it's typically used in many sort of religious terms of God is going to come and rescue me from my debt. You know, if I'm good enough, then, and I pray hard enough, then all my difficulties are going to be taken away from me. Blind faith is the sort of avoidance of accountability in your life. It's the resistance to looking at the reality and the part that you play. And so faith has that confrontation of reality in it. Is the faith that something will work out is different to the blind faith that will be taken away from you. I'm going to say that again. The faith that something will work out is very different to the blind faith that it's going to be taken away from you. If I light enough candles, if I do enough Hail Marys, if I, meditate long enough, if I do any of these things, then the things that I'm struggling with are just going to disappear. Absolutely. Faith has a component of reality, but not reality as fixed. Reality is fluid. And that's the part that's important. As I look at reality, this is the reality, but I don't get attached to it as fixed. It's possible for it to adapt, but it's not something that I get attached to as right or wrong. So in the judgment of reality, it becomes fixed. But in the awareness of reality, I'm aware of it. I'm aware of my bank account. I'm aware of my health. I'm aware of these things. I'm accountable for what part I'm playing in it. And I know it can adjust. I know it's energy. It can adapt. Does that make sense when I answer the question that way? Because often our mind views reality as data and facts, and that's fixed. And the minute we go fixed, faith has no place to. Because now that's the facts. So we need to face reality, but not get attached to it as the end. It's not the place of finality. So that might get your minds thinking a little bit. So one of the challenges for many of us is that we've been quite confronted by many victims in life using blind faith as a way to try and avoid dealing with their lives. And many of us have got frustrated with that process. You know? Is that, there's always a sense of externalization to the divine, but you've got to work with. You can't sit, I remember a woman, and many of you have heard me talk about this before, but it's probably the most useful description I've got, is she'd been married to an alcoholic for 20 years. And he was an abusive alcoholic. And she came to me finally for a reading, and she said, I don't understand, because I have faith that God will fix him. And I go to church all the time, and I pray all the time, and I do everything that I'm doing because God must fix him. And I have faith that God will. After 20 years, the faith you need is the faith to face up to the fact that you're in a marriage that's not good for you. God's not going to take a bottle out of somebody's hand. That blind faith can keep you very trapped and in quite a self-sacrificial energy that is not always valuable. So blind faith is not the same as faith of what is going on. I face it is what we've been talking about. The next thing that faith is not is hope. If I say I have faith in something, it's very different to saying I hope it works out. I have faith that it will all work out the way it's supposed to. is very different to our hope it'll all work out the way it is. What does it feel like for you as the distinction between hope and faith? What comes up for you, if anything, when you just sort of sit in the energy of hope and the energy of faith? Anybody have any awareness around that? So are you saying there's no energy in hope, Cheryl? There's no action in hope. There you go, Marco. Faith involves action. I'm involved in it. I'm engaged in it. Hope is like, oh, I hope this will sort itself out. If I just lie here in bed long enough, I just hope it'll all go away. Or I hope so-and-so is going to do this. Now, hope is not a terrible thing. Hope is closer than hopelessness, so it's not battered. But hope is still an avoidance of action. And so hope always has in it a belief of impossibility. So there's always a relationship with, I don't think it's possible, but I hope so. Faith knows that you can be solved. That faith has got like it's a clarity thing. Like faith is, it's just, there's a deep sense of knowing. With hope, there is always doubt. And doubt is the singular energy that corrodes faith. And so hope is one of the rungs on the ladder towards faith. So we don't need to dismiss it, but we do need to make sure we know that there's not the same thing. Hope and faith are not the same thing. Yeah. And when I say to you, I hope so, there's probably something I'm needing to confront, something I'm needing to pay attention to deal with, for things to shift. As Margot very beautifully puts it, faith involves action. One of the most important things that shifts hope to faith is alignment. So if you connect in with yourself and you look at the mind, the body, the heart, and the spirit being the four bodies we have, mind, body, heart, and spirit. When you're in faith, they're all lined up. Your mind is as aligned as your body is as aligned as your heart is. And you'll know that there's faith because there's a calm. There is no anxiety in it. There's no fear in it. There's no stress in it. There's just a deep faith that I know it will be sorted. I know that we'll get through this. I know that this is going to happen. That sort of sense of alignment. The minute one of your bodies goes out of alignment, often the mental or the emotional body, then we start moving into hope and blind faith. So one of the ways that we can work with the law of faith is bringing my mind into agreement, my heart into agreement, my body into agreement, and my head into agreement. And my spirit into agreement. That we all agree on faith. Now, one of the ways that our mind particularly takes us out of alignment with faith, exactly right. Hope often has this angst element, this part of us that, no, Hamry, I didn't know you were here, hello. There's that sense of, you'll feel it in your body, that sense of uncertainty, that fear that creeps into it. Faith has none of that. And that's what makes faith difficult, is we have to align. We have to get all the bodies in agreement. And one of the things I was just saying is that where particularly the mental body pulls us out of alignment is it confuses faith with trust. So the mind wants to trust. And so if we had to look at faith being all the bodies lining up, the mind is pretty much programmed to not trust. The mind is skeptical. It's like, I'm looking at data points of the past. I don't think that it's going to, work. There's not enough evidence, not enough data. And so needing to use trust as a mechanism to get to faith will always hold you separate. The very nature of faith is having faith when there isn't enough data to trust it because it's not based on the past. Exactly right. The mind wants to protect, Mandy. So we really need to ensure that we understand that to align up, we have to release the need to trust. The only thing I can trust is trust me. I trust my ability to respond. I trust I'll deal with it. I trust I'll be okay. But trusting others, trusting the world, trusting what's going on outside of me, the mind will always look for something to mistrust, and that'll keep you out of alignment. The next aspect of faith that we need to just bring into awareness is that faith, in terms of being the portal for miracles and magic, only happens when you allow it. And to allow something means you have to be out of control, and that's why the law of flow, and the law of detachment, and the law of grace are important ones that we've worked with in the past. Do you allow things to line up? Do you allow yourself to receive miracles? A great way to think about this is you will have a belief about how lucky you are. Some people walk around and go, oh, I'm just so lucky. So lucky, you know, things just happen for me. Very lucky being. And then the people that walk around and go, I'm so unlucky. Yeah, nothing ever goes my way. It always just goes to the person next to me. And that one singular belief of luck and unlucky, that's not really accurate, really, because we're all just available for miracles all the time, impacts how much we allow ourselves to receive or not receive. And so, you know, we bring it up here, but it's not necessarily about trying to feel lucky. It's actually about breaking up with the idea that there is luck and unlucky. Because that in itself means that there's some sort of selection criteria that happens. People are lucky allow themselves to. If I win a lot of competitions, do you know why? I enter a lot of competitions. The probabilities go up, you know. So really, if you need to start rather believing you're lucky, to start allowing yourself to receive and receive miracles and gifts and prizes and things that you don't expect, then do that. But actually, lucky and unlucky is quite a low frequency of belief. Rather say I'm available. I'm open. I allow myself to receive miracles every minute of every day. Magic is part of my life. And then we've spoken about grace. That grace is this magical ingredient that works with faith. And so if you need to go back to the law of grace, and you can work with the aspects of there. But one of the things that we had with grace was that opening. And if you remember, there was such a beautiful meditation around the hands. Those of you that did that, and was that holding your hands up and opening to receive and really inviting in. What's really interesting is there's this collapsing of it into the alignment, which is when we put our hands together in prayer. So the law of grace is this opening up, this aligning, this allowing this, bringing it in. And when we take it into faith, we hold it. We hold it, we cement it. And that's what the law of decree does as well. Those of you that are linking with that, is that it becomes connected to me. And that's what the praying hands is. It's an integration. It brings everything together. So I'm open to receive, so it is, and so it is, and so it is. I allow myself to receive what I need. Amen. And so amen is just shorthand for us, and so it is. It's holding that conviction that it is as it shall be. And so we can see how the law of faith and the law of grace work together when we allow ourselves to. If I'm closed and I'm praying all the time, but I've never opened myself up, then I'm not going to be able to receive in the same way. So let me just pause there and see if anybody has any thoughts or comments or questions coming up for you that you'd like to ask before I move into a little bit more around this. Anything coming up for anybody that you want some clarity on or reflect on? All good. Okay. So the big question is, do you believe in magic? You know that song? Do you believe in magic? Yeah. So even as I can't sing, so no, I shouldn't say can't, but it's not my talent. I have others. So when we start to think of magic, and you start to just tap into the energy of magic, because faith and miracles and magic, we're talking about the same thing. Nicolette goes, I do now. I love it. Yeah. Do you believe in magic? So if you even just look at the picture there and the words, I mean, what are the thoughts and the emotions and the ideas and the constructs and the feelings that come up for you, even as I ask that question, do you believe in magic? And you'll find, let's see if anybody wants to share anything, but you'll find a part of you does. There's a real part of you that does. No, it does believe in magic. No. But there'll be a part of you that doesn't. I want you to notice these two parts of you. The part of you that does believe in magic, and the part of you Cheryl's always have, and I always will. That's why you still look like you in your 20s, Cheryl, because of the eternal youth in you. Sandy says, in principle, maybe for other people. I love that. See what else comes up for you guys as you tap into this. Do I believe in magic? I love the idea in principle. That in itself takes away magic, doesn't it? Anybody else having anything come up for you? If you connect in with the part of you, prior to lifting the veil, I did not at all, but now I honestly do. Oh, absolutely, I sometimes forget, but no, it's there. Also Heather says, my perception has changed and I see magic and so much more. Yeah. So when you start to think about magic and you start to think of this part of you that's really, really open to it, very useful to ask yourself the question, how old is that part? How old is that part of you that believes in magic? And just to notice what comes up for you around that. And if you're one of the people that's sitting there and saying, I'm timeless or ancient, says Cheryl, lovely. It says, I'm not sure, like this magic thing, it's great in theory, which is what Sandy was saying, which is great. It's okay. So the truth of magic is magic's lovely. It's the young self, yeah? So it might be the child in you and the adult in you is bullying yourself. That magic's for, magic of transformation from early age to now, says Mandy. Okay. So magic is this beautiful thing. It's the place of fantasy. It's a place of possibility. It's a place of so much that can happen. And we all love a good movie where there's just magic and we can start to see all of this. But the challenge we've got is, as an archetype, when we talk about the archetypes that align with magic, we have these things that have happened in the world. So we have the con artist. And so a part of us does not trust magic. We have the trickster energy. We have the magician energy. So if I am sitting at a magic show and then the magician's doing the whole card trick, there's a part of you that is fascinated, like completely and utterly seduced by the fantasy of what he's showing you. But every single part of you knows you are being tricked? Like, how does he do it is the thing we want to ask. And so it's not real magic, it's a trick. And our mind really, our ego gets quite frustrated with this, is that the child in us, the part of us that wants to believe in magic, sees the magic there and is seduced by it and engaged in it and enthralled by it. But the mind's going, what's the trick? You're playing a trick on me. You've just learned something I haven't learned. No? And so when we look at the sort of various archetypes that exist in the world around magic, we have to kind of be able to notice our fears of being conned, of being made a fool of. Because if I have fear of being conned or made a fool of, if I fear the tricks, who's playing a trick on me? If I'm constantly trying to figure out how the magician does it, then in some way I've separated myself away from the energy of faith, the miracles and the magic, and gone into the strategy, the structure of trust. And this trust to faith dynamic is impacted when we have somebody that we trusted and they played a trick on us. I was talking to Eric literally this weekend, or I think it was on Saturday morning, and I was saying how awful it is when we play tricks on each other, when even parents play tricks on children. You know, like the thing of giving somebody a fright. My ex-husband used to love doing that. He'd sit in the car and he'd just give me a fright because it's fun. And that sort of energy that brings in a sort of, you know, you can't really trust because there's a trick here. There's something that you're going to do, starts to interrupt us living in faith. And we have a lot of energetic wounds where we've experienced something at the hand of something like this. I'll talk a bit more about wizard now. That almost sometimes we need to heal, that I can rest when there's magic. I don't have to go into high alert mode. I don't have to look for the trick. I don't have to suss it out. I don't have to live in the suspicion of it. I can just enjoy the magic. I can just enjoy the show. Anybody having anything come up as I talk about that? As you start to just experience your own relationship with these things and just notice any disconnect that may come up for you around it.
Go away.
Who is that? Did somebody want to say something? Okay. Sounded like it. So, healing any wounds you have about being conned, being tricked, about being made a fool of, being, you know, that it's hard to trust it. We've also got what we call the wizard energy. And the wizard energy is something, we can align it with the witch, but the witch is not as much known in the sort of field of magic as the wizard. But the sort of wizardry, and as I even bring these up, you may have some past lives, you may have some things that come up for you about wizards and wizardry and all the images that come up around this, is that whilst witches are typically, you know, good with healing and spells, wizards are, what are they doing? What do wizards do? Like, what's their purpose in the world? Yeah. How does their spells and their magic and obviously the greatest wizard of all is our friend Merlin, who, you know, comes forward, and the Merlin energy of allowing miracles to happen, allowing magic to happen, means that we kind of have to transcend understanding anything. We have to move into the, I don't have to understand for something to happen. And when you think of these energies here, it's the mind trying to understand them. And now we start going into, you know, how do we truly embrace this idea of magic, true magic, that it's possible. Like your life can transform overnight. It may not, but it can. And so that's where the world of alchemy, which is the actual magic that we talk about when it comes to the law of faith, is alchemy. Alchemy as a word is where we add something to something else and something magical is made. And you can see the relationship here with the Vesica Piscis. We get this Vesica Piscis, which is 2 circles. And it's very funny, those of you that are doing the emotional mastery will see the overlap, which I didn't know yesterday, I've seen it today. But they overlap to create this portal, which is the portal that you can see here. And this Vesica Piscis is the portal of magic. This is the womb of creation. This is the feminine energy of possibility. This is where 1 + 1 = 3. So suddenly we've got this circle, and when it overlaps, it creates a brand new space. And if you have a look at the way that this dragonfly card is presented, it's not here. It's really just, we've taken away the 2 circles and you've got this 1 circle in the middle here. So something new is created. It's the eye. It's the eye of possibility. When you meditate, you may well go through this all-knowing eye. But this is the portal of magic. Now, if we look at these circles, we can look at them from a number of different things. We can look at the masculine and feminine, the overlap of the masculine and feminine. And if we look at masculine and feminine within us, when we integrate them, something new emerges, which is a unified field. It's a field that no longer has a sex war going on inside of it. We can look at this as the past and the future. And that's one of the magical ways to think of the law of faith. Is remember I said that the past is, we can't go and recreate that. The futures are noble, but when we overlap the past and the future into the present moment, alchemy happens in the now. Anything can happen in the next heartbeat, in the next minute. And so we have this new portal, this new place of possibility, this magical moment where something new can be created. But if I keep these separate and never ever allow them to come together, then I'm never going to find that new place. So I have to bring together, and this is what the law of karma is all about for those of you that can remember. I need to bring together things that appear to be opposite. When I put them together, I can handle the paradox, and the paradox starts to create the opening, starts to create the portal of possibility. And this is why we've got the paradox of faith and action, is I'm confronting what needs to be confronted, but I'm not reacting, I'm just sitting and paying attention. And as I pay attention or face the things that need to face, I open up a place of possibility. Think of conversations as a way that you may be able to. Let me just let Leanne in here. Seems like she's lost us. Think about conversations. If I had to put these 2 circles separate, and think about there needs to be a conversation between me and you. There's a conflict. There's a conversation that needs to be happening, but I'm not opening it, you're not opening it. I sit in the conversation happening in my head, you sit in the conversation happening in your head, and we both just sit in our, on our side of the fence. And then that magical moment that somebody says, can I have a cup of coffee with you? Or I need to talk to you about this. These come together and there's the possibility of it opening up to something. It can also come together and clash. But the minute I go, this is an awkward conversation, or I don't know what to do, or I'm sorry, or whatever it is, whatever needs to be said to open it, then suddenly these circles overlap and we've created a portal of possibility. We don't know what will happen, but there's the possibility. So there's a lot of bravery in faith. There's the bravery to confront that which needs to be confronted, so I can open up a portal for something to transcend. And whatever happens through there will be the information and the data that you need. So you can sit and look for yourself, and you look for the place in your life where you need miracles. And you can ask yourself, what do I need to confront? What do I need to do? How do I open up a place, a space for something new to emerge? And so you'll see here a beautiful overlap, and I'll send this to you, of the place of religion, which is very structured. The cross is a symbol that often comes from religious context, and those of you that have a resistance to it, you will deal with it if you need to. But the cross is an ancient symbol of crossroads, of being at a crossroads, of possibility, of faith, that you have many places you can go, many places you can choose, different things you can explore and experience. When we look at the cross, we also get the overlap with the physical form. We've got the head and the arms and the body. And so it's the alignment, this lining up of every aspect of me coming into a uniform place of alignment. Faith has got the connection with spirit, because spirit is the alchemy, spirit is the magic, spirit is the place of, anything can happen. And so when we overlap all these vesicapices, all these little things which represent the flower of life in this, but essentially you can see the flower of life is all made up of these symbols. It's just a continuation of these vesicapices. As we start to get an opening up to possibility. And so this, I'll send it out as a separate thing. I'd highly recommend it as something you play with and color in and work with, and notice your own affirmations and what do I need to confront and what's possible. What are the things I need to bring into this that allow things to happen? When I overlap this masculine energy, which is the structure of the cross and the form of life, with the divine possibility, this infinite possibility of what could unfold, I invite in faith, magic into my life. And so we're going to use that symbol as the symbol for our meditation. So we're going to call an Archangel Faith, which I'll talk about, and she's going to come and lead us through the presence, through the meditation. But before we do that, anybody got any reflections? It'd be lovely if 2 or 3 of you share what's coming up for you, what you're most aware of from this tonight. What's the aspects of faith that you're becoming more aware of? So you can maybe all put something in the chat box, but if anybody would like to speak, that would also be cool. Anybody wanting to share or ask something? Now, we keep coming back to that, hey Margot? And all these laws is that's why all these laws impact abundance. Okay, Angela. Beautiful. So many portals of possibility. So Mandy, trust is the work of the mind. The mind has, the way the mind works is it's always looking for data. And it's saying, how trustworthy is this fact? Is this fiction? Is this good? Is this bad? Is this right? Is this wrong? So the mind is continuously evaluating things against a whole lot of criteria. Some of it accurate, some of it limited. And the mind is programmed to not trust. It's always going to find something that you didn't say this, or this was wrong, or that's wrong. Whereas faith is truly stepping into the faith that I can handle this, the faith that it's okay, the faith that I can deal with it, even when I don't trust what's going on. So faith transcends trust. Faith has got this integration, whereas trust can hold you quite separate from that. Does that answer your question? One of the ways I used to talk about trust quite a lot, I haven't for quite a while, but it's coming up now, is if I throw you a ball, if I sit here now and I throw a ball to you, which hypothetically speaking is across the ethers, but if I throw a ball at you, your mind wants to know why. Why are you throwing the ball at me? Do you want to play with me? Are you trying to test me? Is it a nice ball? What do you want me to throw back? What do you want me to do? And it doesn't really matter. You could analyze why I'm doing what I'm doing for days. The truth is the ball's coming towards you. So faith is your ability to choose what you want to do with the ball. That I trust myself to figure out what my job is. And not analysis of why everything is happening on the outside, because that keeps me separate from my own internal connection to believing I can deal with it. Does that answer the question, Mandy? You're more than welcome to come on and speak if that's easier. Cheryl, vibration and heart, which is a response to the information. Oh, I love that. Mandy?
Yes, what you've just described makes sense, but I still somehow equate the two. So you saying that trust is more about analyzing and mistrusting.
Absolutely. So if we think of the very nature of faith, it's not having all the information. It's stepping into that truly that I don't know place. Whereas when I analyze, I want to try and find out all the facts and figure out all the loopholes and do all of this. And then when I have enough data, then I'll trust it. In that interim process, you could have faith. Faith that you'll figure out, faith that it'll be okay, faith that things will work out the way it needs to. But if you make faith an outcome of trust, you're delaying it. Because there's always going to be something new to analyze, something you don't trust, something else to come. Does that make sense when I describe that?
Yeah, it makes sense. I use them as a synonym, but I hear what you're saying. I do understand.
So check in for yourself, Mandy, because maybe you don't move to your head with trust. And so if you feel trust more as an alignment of everything coming together, but check in for yourself when you go into a place of can I trust or not trust? Is it coming from your heart? And maybe it is your intuition you're connecting to, whereas many people go to their mind. What's the facts? What's the evidence? What's okay? What's not okay? What's the analysis? And so if it just goes to the mind, then it's going to interrupt that faith. But if yours is taking you to your intuition, which it might be, then it might just be a language thing that you have bypassed in the way you connect with it.
Well, I'll take note. Thank you.
Yeah. Check in around it and see what happens for you. Yeah. All right, let's see. Anybody else having any awarenesses of what's coming up for you as we talk about this? Right. So I'm going to be doing the meditation with Archangel Faith. She's often known as Lady Faith. She is Archangel Michael's twin flame, which essentially means she's the feminine to his masculine. So when we look at the feminine energy, remember the portals, the Vescapissus is a very feminine energy. In sacred geometry, straight lines are masculine and curved lines are feminine. And there is this feminine energy of faith. There's what we mean by that is there is this sort of the darkness. Is that when we look at feminine energy, it takes us into the dark spaces in between. The feminine can go into the womb, into the darker places of humanity and hold that space. And so she, whilst we know Archangel Michael is the angel of courage, and he's of, you know, his sword, and he's going to take action, he's going to do all these things. Archangel Faith is this, or Lady Faith, depending on how you want to think about her, she comes forward with the sort of graceful elements of that. And so the meditation will probably be between the two of them, but governed largely by her. The crystals that I suggested for tonight, if you have them, you can use them. If not, you can use anything. But celestite is the one crystal. So this is a celestite. This is a celestite heart. And it's interesting, Cheryl, you brought it up earlier because celestite is actually the crystal most aligned with Mary Magdalene. But it's a crystal of harmony. It's a crystal of great transformation and very angelic, high vibrational angelic realm. So it's celestite. The other crystal that is one of my favorites that came forward tonight is seraphonite. So seraphonite, I'm not sure if you'll see it there, almost looks like angel wings. It's a beautiful piece of, so seraph is angel, seraphonite is connection to the angelic realm. So a lot of the meditation, the working with the law of faith, is the invitation to the angelic realm to be part of my life, to come in and use the portals I create to bring in magic, to bring in new possibilities, and to help me take the steps that I need to take. So anybody else have any questions before we go into the meditation tonight? Anybody else got anything coming up there? All right, let me just switch this on so I can record the meditation with you. So you can take us a moment to get comfortable. You can just get comfortable in your space. If you happen to fall asleep during the meditation, well then that's the way it is. But if you could make sure you're sitting up straight if you need to, or sitting in a place that allows you to receive the meditation, whatever's best for you. Just start to become aware of the various parts of your body. What she means by that is she wants you to become aware of the left hand side of your body. Just become aware of everything's going on the left hand side of your body. And then become aware of everything going on in the right hand side of your body. Scan what's going on the left and what's going on the right. And let your energy and your mind just notice this left and right part of you. And with that awareness just settling into you, become aware of what's going on in the top half of your body. And then when you're ready, the bottom half of your body. What's going on at the top and the bottom. Just notice how they connect, how they flow. If there's anything that needs to happen to build them closer together. With the awareness of the left and the right, the top and the bottom. Become aware of the front of your body. And the back of your body. Scan it and notice. There's no right, there's no wrong, just awareness. And so we have the left and the right, and the top and the bottom, the front and the back. All these different perspectives of you, different access points to you. Become aware of the inside of you. And the outside of you. As you become aware and notice these various dynamics of you, notice any parts of you that need to be connected together. How do you bring the left and the right into union? The top and the bottom into union. The front and the back into union. The inside and the outside into union. As you sit quietly in this emerging place, this place where all can merge together. Notice the center of you, a place where all converges. If it helps, you can put your hands together, letting your fingertips touch each other to bring all the parts of you together in the center of you. Become aware of anything else that needs to be brought into alignment, welcomed in, and comfortably be part of you. Coming back to center. As you connect with this energetic center of you, become aware of its blueprint. What color is it? What shape is it? What does it feel like? How does the center of you show itself to you? Become aware if anything needs to shift. Change shape, expand, move. So the center of you feels perfectly connected and aligned to you. As it settles into a natural space, it feels in harmony with your mind, your body, your heart, and your spirit. Put all your attention to this central core place within you, the center of you. The central vortex of possibility. That resides within you. The creative force of you. As you have all your energy on the center of you, notice how much you can connect to it, how it is a place of faith, place of grace, a place of calm, a place of possibility. This is the source of creation within you. You start to notice the center of this place opening up into a beautiful vesica piscis, a void. It opens up naturally and gently. Beautiful void. And within that void, there is magic, alchemy, possibility, bound within this space. As this place of magic opens up in the center of the core of you, Archangel Faith presents herself to you. She honors you for your courage, for your willingness to participate in your own life. And she invites you to ask for whatever you want to invite into this place of magic within you. What would you like to invite into your life? The portal is open. You are the creator of your destiny. It is your time to invite in all you need. Take a minute and just invite in whatever you want. There's no limits of what you can ask for. Archangel Faith says she'd like you to use this portal to invite in whatever you would like to invite in for humanity's healing. Bring space of magic into the world at this point. What would you like to invite in for humanity? And she says, take a minute to imagine all that you've invited in manifesting itself into a world and into your world, so that your life becomes in flow with divine grace. Imagine your nirvana. Imagine your utopia. Imagine your creation. She says, when you are ready, you can seal this place of faith and divine blessings. And you're free to leave it open or close it, however you would like to, knowing you can return here at any point to align, connect, open, and invite. And so it is. And so it is. And so it is. So when you feel ready, you come back to the here and now, allowing yourself to know you can go back at any time. Right, so there you have it. I'm always amazed what they do in these meditations. I never know where it's going to go. So there you have it, my darling souls. It is the law of faith. Anybody wish to say anything before we wrap up and finish? It was quite beautiful. Oh, I'm grateful for you too, Mandy. Yeah. All right. So next week, I will see you for the law of one, my favorites ones. So I will see you then. Sending you lots and lots and lots of love, and let's bring in what the world needs, what our world needs. And I'll see you all next week with lots of care. Namaste. Oh, I'm glad, Margaret. Oh, it's a pleasure, Nadine, my darling. Pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. Right. Pleasure, Sandy. I hope that brought a little bit of peace. It was. Sending you lots of love, Cheryl. It was awesome to see you. Take care. Namaste. Yeah, no, you're there. All right, cheers.